Hello, hello, hello. This is Cobb Carter, and I'm going to welcome you to Mike Cobb's Offshore Investment Report. Today, we're going to cover a very, very important topic, and that is what I call the ECI advantage, which we're going to explain to you now. Mike, welcome.
Thanks, Carter. Always good to be here, man. Always good.
And you look lovely today.
Hey, I heard I was being interviewed by Carter Clues, so I said I better dress up a little bit here. So, yeah.
I am impressed.
Actually, you always have these things you hold up, right? So today I get to. So I am here at the National Association of Realtors mid-year meetings right outside of Washington, D.C. in National Harbor. So it's an incredible event. NAR is just they're an incredible organization, actually. Did you know, Carter, they are the largest trade association in the world with 1.6 million members.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Realtors around the world or throughout the U.S.?
I think 1.3, 1.4 in the U.S. and then, the rest of the world. Canada's a big one, of course, but the rest of the world's maybe another 300,000, something like that. Yeah. Biggest trade association in the U.S. and maybe one of the biggest in the world, actually. Right. Yeah.
And I have a feeling that the reason that the Mike Cobb, the Offshore Oracle, is there is because there is a mounting interest among U.S. realtors in marketing offshore properties. Could I be right about that?
You're psychic, Carter. I don't know. Yeah. It's interesting. So about 14 years ago, a group of realtors came to Nicaragua to run a certified international property specialist. It's a CIPS designation. And the guy running it was a guy by the name of Jeff Hornberger. And Jeff at the time worked for the National Association. And he brought this group. I got to know him. And over the years, he and I started to do he got me invited to a presidential advisory group in Chicago for a week. They call it a PAG, where I was brought in to help the National Association of Realtors develop an outbound global program. So the National Association has, right, I mean, there's a ton of global business, right? But mostly it's inbound, right? Mostly it's foreigners buying property in the U.S. And it's a tremendous amount of business. I mean, it's a huge amount of business, right? Billions of dollars a year that are transacted with folks coming to the U.S. to buy real estate. But what they wanted to do was they wanted to help develop a program that would allow U.S. realtors to help their U.S. clients become property owners overseas, or get the kinds of representation. I guess people are doing it anyway. I mean, there's 8 million U.S. and Canadians who already have property outside North America, right? But what they really wanted to do was they wanted to help the U.S. realtor community begin to provide the kinds of representation on these outbound transactions. Yeah, so they invited me to come in. I was in Chicago for a week and helped do the advisory stuff. And at the end of that week, the woman who was the vice president of NAR invited me to come onto their board of directors. So I actually served on the board of directors of the National Association for 1 year, and then have served on several of their committees over the years, and have given presentations to the national level and many of the state and local associations, and continue to do that. So anyway, so it's been great because look, at the end of the day, U.S. and Canadian realtors bring real value to an outbound transaction, right? We're moving from the land of seller beware, which is where our brains are as North American consumers, right? We got every kind of protection, regulatory agencies, consumer protection, Ralph Nader, on and on and on, right? Looking out for us when we're in the U.S. But when we go overseas, all of a sudden we're in a buyer beware situation. And we as consumers coming out of North America just simply do not know how to be functionally, how to function well in a buyer beware environment. And that's what the real estate community can help provide as a service and representation to their clients. So I'm here and I'm seeing a bunch of the folks that I've worked with over the years and present to their various associations. And it's nice. And I'm glad it's in DC. So it was easy to get down to. And
And I love National Harbor. I love National Harbor. And
beautiful.
So I think, and how many years did you say you've been working with this real massive realtor group?
The 13 years now.
13 years. All right.
Yeah.
First of all, prediction. The 8 million figure you just gave, I think it's going to triple, maybe quadruple within the next 10 years. You see it
I
more
agree.
so than others because you are the president of ECI Development,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Now, I think they chose wise, and I'm going to tell you why. To have you as the person they brought in initially to start advising them, and obviously continually to be part of their movement towards selling offshore properties, because ECI Development, folks, this is very important to everyone watching this program. When you buy property offshore, Mike, as you just said, there's more of a buyer beware attitude. So what you do, and what these realtors obviously have realized, is when you talk to ECI, when you talk to your company, Mike, what you have, you're going to see an increase in savings, in service, in income, and in security. It's just that simple. That's what I call the ECI advantage. And folks, it's very important to you. Look, I push properties, as you know, anybody who watches Coffee with Carib Carter every Monday at noon, Mike, by the way, the you know, I push properties all throughout Central America, one-offs, small developments, big, but when it comes to your savings, security, income, and security, ECI Development, that's the ECI advantage, because you've been doing it 25 years, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
You shortchanged me a year, 26, Carter, but that's okay.
26 years. So folks, when you go to ecidevelopment.com, you look at those properties, you know you're buying, investing in properties that everything has been taken care of for you. You have all the amenities, you have all the opportunities, you have the ECI advantage. So Mike, let's talk about that for a few minutes. How did you put that game plan together to make sure that that's what people had? Because I know it did not exist 26 years ago when you started building developments. I think you have 6 or 7 now throughout Central and South America.
We do. Yeah, but Carter, the question's the exact correct question to ask, because, you know, why were we needed in the marketplace? Look, if there's no service to a consumer, then there's no business, there's no real legitimate business need, right? And so what we saw when we started a mortgage company was our very first business about 28 years ago now. And what we saw was that the type of product that was available to middle-class Americans. Look, if you were back then, if you were writing a check for $500,000, today I would say it's, you know, $750,000 to $1 million. But back then, if you were writing a check for $500,000, you were going to get North American standard. You were going to get really high quality construction. You were probably going to get nice amenities. But if you were writing a check for $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, you know, you were compromising. There were definitely compromises you were being, you were accepting, right? Maybe it was that there was one outlet on one wall in the living room, right?
Yeah.
You know, or all the door handles are at different heights, or there's only hot water in like one bathroom, and the rest of the bathrooms and the sink, and so just on and on and on, or the amenities weren't there, or they were, whatever. And so what we said was, look, for not very much more money, we can actually come in and we can build North American standard. We can put an outlet every 8 feet on every wall. We can put all the door handles. We can put the light over the mirror. We can really, for not a whole lot more money, I mean, $1,000, pick a number, so if you have a $150,000 property, now it's 151, right? But it meets all your North American expectations.
Exactly.
And so that was the need that we saw. That's the need that we figured out how to serve. And you're right, Carter. Now we do it. We started in Belize. Nicaragua was next. Costa Rica followed that. Panama, and now El Salvador as well. So yeah, we're able to serve folks in a lot of different geographies. And that's the other thing, right? I mean, this idea of, the tropics, everyone, I think stereotypically, if I said, imagine the tropics, most people would imagine themselves on this, Caribbean beach with the palm trees and the like 15 colors of blue water in front, right? Yeah. That is one kind of tropics, right? But there's also Atlantic Ocean with bigger waves. There's the Pacific Ocean for surfers with even bigger waves, right? There are dry climates like desert at the beach, right? Cabo San Lucas is like Phoenix at the beach, right? But then there are places like Cartagena, which is an old ancient city at the beach that's like climate like Miami, right? It's more humid. Or if you said, I don't like old, I want modern. Okay, Panama City. It's a modern city at the beach, right? And then you've got my favorite environment is the tropical highlands, where it's springtime all the time. It's
Yes.
65 at night, 75 in the day, every day of the year. And there's coffee plantations and flowers, and they grow strawberries. And I mean, to me, that is my perfect climate type. And so again, you have choices. Do I want to live in a town? Do I want to live in a city, a modern city, an old city? Cuenca, Ecuador, an ancient city, 500-year-old city in the tropical highlands. So I don't like old. I want new. No problem. Medellin, Colombia, modern, brand new city in the highlands, right? Or I want to live in a quaint little town, right? Boquete, Panama. So again, what we understood was that we could deliver these different geographies to different folks, right? Because again, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
But every one of these products meets a North American standard of expectation for the product, the services, the amenity, and then the most important word, community, right? The quality of life you have because you made friends and neighbors, and you've enjoyed the company of one another, and that really is the hallmark of quality of life, right? It's our friends and the people we get to know, and the community that we build that really translates into the highest measure of happiness in our lives.
And you have done this. You have done this in a way that the years ago, there was a concept, and I know you and I talked about it years ago, maybe 10 years ago, the new urbanism. You never hear the term anymore, but it was the walkable community, which is what you've done with Grand Pacifica, Graham Bayman. You're in Boquete, Costa Rica, everywhere that there's a Mike Cobb community with the ECI advantages, I call it. It's a walkable community.
Correct.
You really do have friends and neighbors that get together at the stores, at the restaurants, at the coffee shop, which is just fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
And that's what, there are, when people are looking, I've talked about, and you and I've talked about it. I bought a home at La Ceiba Beach Club, which is very nice, not far from the new reef community you're building in Honduras.
Yep.
But here's the difference. The community you're building in Honduras, which I think is like 15 miles away from where I bought.
It's close. Yeah.
It's close.
Yeah.
Is where I will go for all the community amenities, because we don't have it at La Ceiba Beach Club.
Right.
It's very simple. And that is the advantage. That's the advantage of the Mike Cobb community, the ECI advantage. And so we've mentioned Panama. Boquete, by the way, I just love, because I think the homes there have fireplaces, right?
Yeah, do. And we're not actually in Boquete. We're about 20 minutes down the hill. So we're a little bit cooler, a little bit drier. It's interesting. Truly, you get these microclimates. Boquete is a little bit cooler, and it's wetter, right? I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. It's like it's in a bowl almost. You come up over a little hill and you drop down into a bowl with mountains around you. It's spectacularly beautiful. But it's a little bit rainy, misty. It's more of a cloud forest kind of scenario, but it's charming. There are tons of restaurants, lots of expats. We're actually about 20 minutes down the hill towards David, but we're still at about, 3,300 feet above sea level. So we're still, temperatures are probably 70 at night, 80 in the daytime. So it's maybe 5 degrees warmer, but still kind of like springtime all the time, but it's a lot drier. But Carter, in Boquete, they definitely have fireplaces. Our homes probably won't have them because 70 is not quite the temperature you'd want a fireplace. But it's spectacular, right? And
it's spectacular. And then you mentioned the higher waves and I always get it mixed up. I think on the Atlantic side, right?
Well, so you've got Caribbean, like in Belize, you've got the reef just offshore.
That's right. So
what you end up with is very small waves versus, say, the Atlantic side of Costa Rica, where you actually get waves like you would see on Miami or Florida, right? That kind of wave, because you don't have the reef system right out in front breaking it. But then in Nicaragua, you've got the Pacific Ocean. In El Salvador, in fact, El Zonte was always known as a surf community, and our Grand Pacifica community in Nicaragua's got 2 incredible surf breaks. In fact, one of them, the meat grinder, has been filmed by Kelly Slater and others as professional surfers. I mean, the wave was actually on the cover of Surfer Journal. I mean, this is a world-class surf break for professional surfers. But down the beach, about a mile away, we own 3.5 miles of beach. So about a mile from the meat grinders is Azuchillo. And we actually have, I think it's 83 homes under construction right in front of this surf break right now. And Carter, just from coming back to this middle class idea, right? We have homes on the oceanfront homes, literally, I mean, like oceanfront homes for under $400,000, $389,000 for a home on the ocean. And literally, if you go 100 yards in from the ocean, right, we have homes in another community, the cozy homes, as you like to call them, that start at 139. So you can be 100 yards from the ocean and have a home that's under $150,000. So again, we're still serving a middle class marketplace, but you're going to have hot and cold running water, and you're going to have all the wonderful community amenities. So if you want to be on the ocean, 400,000. You want to be off the ocean, but again, 2-minute walk to the ocean, 150,000. And then we have oceanfront condominiums in the original phase, looking out over the meat grinder, which is that other surf break. Again, about under $150,000. So again,
which is incredible.
Right.
And which would cost, we always talk about, you and I always talk about what we call the 10% factor. And that is, you can get homes like the ones you just mentioned for about 1/10 of what a similar home, if you could find one, would cost in the US.
Right.
90% savings. I mean, it's incredible. And a far better lifestyle. And in El Zante, what is the name of the community you're building in El Zante? You mentioned we interviewed a world-class surfer on Coffee with Caleb Carter this past Monday, and he can't wait for your community to finish up in El Zante.
Well, we're working with Mike Peterson. He's the landowner. He asked us to come in, and Mike Peterson is the godfather of Bitcoin. He's the guy that got it all started in El Salvador, and he developed a project called Bitcoin Beach. And so our community would be about 400 homes and condominiums right in El Zante as part of Bitcoin Beach. So that's what you'll hear about it is. Now, we haven't actually launched product there yet. We're still working through our engineering so that we can apply for our environmental permits, and that'll take another 12 months. But I mean, 12 months from now, about this time next year, Carter, we'll actually have product that we can talk about, and and opportunities for folks to become owners in El Zante and in Bitcoin Beach.
Fantastic. And again, the El Zante community, like Grand Pacifica, like Grand Bayman, the others have, I'm going to say it again, the ECI advantage, savings, service, income, and security, which folks, you're just not, I'm going to say you're not going to find anywhere else to the extent you're going to find it in an ECI community. And this is not an ad. This is what we do. We help you find the best place you can find. And that happens to be it.
Yeah. And I'm a little bit on a time crunch, and that. I actually I'm doing a Clubhouse presentation here in a couple minutes on Belize. And so I would be remiss if I didn't mention what we have in Belize as well, because for a lot of people, Belize is the easy first step to overseas, right? Or offshore, because English is the official language. The legal system is common law. So you've got contracts that are written in English, but are also very familiar because it's common law. And so it's a very, very simple, easy first step. It's where we got started with our business back in 1994 with the mortgage company. So it was our first step. And I'm really glad, because it made transitioning into Central and South America, which is mostly Spanish. I mean, Brazil is Portuguese, of course, but civil law, which is a very different legal system throughout. So again, Belize is a very easy first step. We have a Best Western hotel that we have there, and ownership of the studio residences start at $129,000. So you can own a studio residence that's in a Best Western rental program for $129,000, and it's 3 blocks off the water, right? And we're also developing a Marriott resort and residences where we as a company are going to actually keep 60%. We're going to keep more than half of the residences for our own ownership interest as a company, but we're offering 40% of them. So about 70 out of the 200 are going to be offered for private ownership, have been offered actually. for private ownership, and they start about $350,000 for a Marriott oceanfront Marriott residence in Ambergris, Belize. So different price points, different markets, but again, incredible opportunities that are 10% of what a similar product would cost in California or Florida, Key West or whatever. Yeah.
And because it's an ECI community, you mentioned it, the rent advantage, cash flow, folks, cash flow, equity, property values going up, cash flow. Mike, this has been fantastic. I know you got to go give a speech. You look great, buddy. You look great.
Yeah.
So
thank you. You never, hey, by the way, you never tell me that when I'm in a t-shirt, but anyway, all right. Carter, always fun.
Thank you very, very much. It's been super. Folks, there you go. The ECI advantage. Remember, I'm not selling you. I'm just telling you, because that's what I do as a president of the Offshore Club. You buy where we just talked about, doesn't make a penny in my pocket. That's not why I do this. I do this because I believe that you're going to find the good life at a great price, a better life at a great price, offshore in the sun, sand, and surf. And the best place to do that is at these ECI developments I just told you about, Mike Cobb communities. Check them out, and make your own decision. As I tell you every day, let's do this thing.